Hey everyone! Today's video will be on my cube collection. Now, I've been collecting for a little over a year, and so far the hobby has been very enjoyable. So let's get started with actual Rubik's brand cubes. So here we have a Rubik's 2x2. It's a little smaller than 50 millimeters. I think it's about 46. I mean, it's a 2x2. There's no corner cutting, but if you're just learning, this is a fine puzzle. Next, we have the first cube that I ever got. It's just the Rubik's 3x3. It actually turns pretty good for a Rubik's brand. Not really any reverse corner cutting, but maybe just a little bit of forward corner cutting. And I mean, the shades look nice. Yeah, it's good to learn on. And this cube is a Rubik's Cube from the 80s. It still has the original stickers that are kind of falling off. This one takes some elbow grease to move, but it's cool to have, and it just looks nice. And here we have the Rubik's Light. Let me just get these out of the way. It is a 3x3 that lights up, but you can also solve on it. It doesn't turn very well, but I guess it doesn't have to. It's just a cool item to have. Here's what it looks like illuminated. So here are the 3x3s. We'll start off with this mini 3x3. I'm not exactly sure what this is, but it's got a really strange color scheme. And if you're just looking for a cube to take on the go, this wouldn't be a bad idea, although turning is not the greatest. It's barely finger trickable, but for what it is, it's pretty good. Next, we have a 50 millimeter Diane Zanchi. I got this for one-handed solving, and it's a really good cube, especially since I have smaller hands. It's a little unstable. I popped it twice when I was just doing two-handed solving, but that's not really an issue if you're an accurate turner. So yeah, this one is really good too. Here is the Volk 3. It turns really well. It's got a satisfying sound and corner cuts from pretty much any angle. This is a Cyclone Boys Fei Wu. It's the only stickerless 3x3 that I have. The red and the orange are very similar, so if you are solving in not the best lighting, you can get mixed up easily. But the turning is nice. It's smooth, a little bit blocky, kind of high-pitched actually. And then I switched the center caps on the white, blue, yellow, and green sides just to make it look a little different. But yeah, it's not a bad cube. Here are two Shangshao Fangyuans. I switched the caps on two of them to make illusion cubes. They look really cool. I like the blue internals, but the black internals also have a really interesting effect. These are both really good cubes if you're looking for a speed cube that performs well but is not too expensive. And last, we have the 68 millimeter Chi Sail. It's the size of a 7x7, so I thought it would feel really strange in the hands, but it's actually quite nice. It's got good corner cutting, it's smooth, and even though the pieces feel a bit hollow, it doesn't feel cheap or anything. It's a really nice cube. And on to the rest of my WCA main event puzzles. Here is a Cyclone Boys 2x2. It turns pretty well. It can lock up if you go too fast, but my main issue with it is just the similar colors. This is a Shengshao 4x4. It's okay if everything is all aligned, but it can catch quite a bit. Middle slices are pretty much not gonna happen quickly. This is a Mofeng Jiaoxi MF5. So even though this is a budget cube, it turns very, very well. It's smooth, doesn't really lock up, so there's no danger of popping out pieces. The shades have really good contrast, and yeah, this is overall a very nice puzzle. Here is a V-Cube 5. This is the first 5x5 that I got. It has really, really sharp corners and this clicking mechanism on the outer layers. So the inners are fine. Even has a little bit of corner cutting. Oh, but not that. Yeah, it's good if you just want to learn 5x5, but once you want to start getting faster, I would suggest using something else. I don't own a 6x6 yet, so here is the 7x7. This is also from Mofeng Jiaoxi. It's the MF7S. I would say it's even smoother than this 5x5. I mean, once you start turning multiple layers, it gets more difficult, but that's just because of the friction and not necessarily the quality of the puzzle. But yeah, it's just very, very smooth. A good puzzle. If you were looking for a 7x7, that is pretty inexpensive. So here are the WCA side event puzzles. I'll start with this Pyraminx. When I got it from Amazon, it said it was a Shengshao Pyraminx, but I am not so sure about that. It's really quite cheap. Some of the panels will start to pull up, and it doesn't have any ball bearings to help the pieces snap into place. It actually makes me think it's a Hishu Pyraminx just because of these textured stickers. So yeah, there's that one. Next, we have a Dream Park Pyraminx. I'm assuming that's a knockoff, but I am not so sure about that. It has ball bearings, and it actually feels nice. The pieces click into place. These tips are fine. I haven't tried any other Pyraminx, so I can't compare it to other good ones, but it's a solid one for just learning. Next, we have a Shengshao's cube. It has ball bearings, and it's quite noisy. I don't really do that much cube. I can just solve it with the beginner's method, but it's still really fun to mess around with every once in a while. Here is the X-Men Galaxy Megaminx, and it's sculpted. So yeah, this is a really, really nice puzzle. It's smooth, and it's got good corner cutting, some reverse, and then of course regular. My only main issue with it is that sometimes the corners will twist, and I'm not sure if that's due to me turning inaccurately or when I give it to my friends, them holding it strange and twisting it. But yeah, it's a nice puzzle, and the colors are very distinct, so there's not really any concern about mixing up some of the pieces. And last, we have the Chi Square one. I don't do very much square one either. I can solve it if I'm looking at an algorithm sheet. But this puzzle is really nice. It's got a smooth middle turning, and the upper and lower layers turn a little slower, but that's just because when you execute algorithms, you need to make these smaller adjustments. Now on to shape mods. So first we have a Shengshao mirror blocks or bump cube. This was the first shape mod that I got. It has these really cool brushed metal type stickers. They're not actually metal, but it makes solving the centers kind of interesting because you can either solve them so that they go with the grain or that they're perpendicular, and then of course if they are perpendicular they will catch the light differently and the centers will stand out. Corner cutting is pretty good for what it is. Next we have a Z branded 2x2 mirror blocks. It has these nice textured stickers. Unlike the Shengshao, these are actually textured. It turns really nicely. Sometimes there's some spring noise, but that's not really an issue. There are never really any internal lockups. And it's got some corner cutting. The core is really quite small because of these smaller layers. Here is a Mofeng Jiaoshi wind mirror cube. It also has this nice brushed metal look. And what's interesting about this puzzle is once you finish up your OLL, you are done with the puzzle. Because so many of the pieces are the same, once you complete the shape just by going through OLL, the puzzle can still look off, kind of like these centers. They will catch the light differently. And so here on the top, some of these pieces kind of stand out, and then on the side here, you could get something like that. This is a Z-branded axis cube. The base puzzle is a YJ axis cube V2, so the turning is really, really nice. It's smooth, and it has a little bit of corner cutting. So on this puzzle, here is just one layer, and so you can see this is the center, these are the edges, and then these are the corners. So because this is all of the same color, it's pretty easy to do your cross and F2L, but then once you get to the last layer, unless you're doing beginner's method, sometimes you can run into some weird issues. Here's a close-up of these stickers. Some of them are not placed that well. Because each side is the same shape, just rotated, no matter how you solve it, all of the stickers will line up. Here is a Z-branded Ivy cube. It has these hollow stickers that are textured. This is a really easy puzzle, but it's really fun to mess around with. The turning is really nice. The solve is really similar to a Scube or Pyraminx, and it just turns along these four corners, so these two, and then these two. Here is an octagonal barrel that I made from a YJ Guanlong and a YJ Fisher cube. So this used to be the Fisher cube, and this used to be the Guanlong 3x3, and what I did was exchange these vertical sections of the puzzle. So they turn well. Sometimes it's a little strange when you are doing algorithms on this one because there isn't really a corner to grab onto. And what makes these puzzles interesting is you can run into a last layer parity, and that's if you kind of change the color scheme. So on this puzzle, the block happens to the right of the centers, whereas on this puzzle, the block is on the left. So if you mix those up, you can't really solve the last layer. And this puzzle's turning is a little blocky, but it has good corner cutting. Yeah, it's a really fun solve because you have to orient these centers. Also, it would be interesting if someone modified a wit-eating mix-up cube. I was thinking if you could make a turn like this and then keep on going, that would be really interesting. And I think all you would have to do is just extend like this center section. Forgot about this puzzle. So here is the Z carbon fiber master morphics. It is a 3x3 shape mod. So if I just separate a layer like this, here is the center, here are the edges, and then here are the corners. Turning is really, really nice. It's got a little bit of corner cutting. Not really any reverse, just because of these sharper corners, but that's fine. When you do 90-degree turns, it can shapeshift. Yeah, one of my favorite shape mods. And last we have the Non-WCA Puzzles. So in the back here we have the X cube. You solve it like a cuboid as well as a 5x5. The turning is pretty good. It feels really solid, although sometimes it can catch. So when you want to do these larger moves like this, when you're solving these layers, it's actually best to do the turns like this. But yeah, it's a really fun solve. Takes a while, but if you've got some spare time, it's quite enjoyable. This one looks really interesting when it's super flipped, so let me just show you that. So here it is. When you look at each side, you can see the corresponding color facing you. It kind of looks like the X Cube logo. Yeah, on the sides here you have these H's or I's, however you want to look at them. Next we have the Calvin's puzzle 3x3x5. So I think this is a cuboid that a lot of people have. It shapeshifts. The turning is really smooth, really effortless, but it does feel a little delicate. When it is shapeshifted, you need to be careful not to accidentally pop one of the corners off, which will cause the puzzle to kind of fall apart. But it's a really fun solve if you like cuboids. Here is the Meffert's gear ball. It has this different color scheme, so instead of white, it has purple, and then the purple is not opposite of yellow. But that doesn't really affect the solving difficulty. In fact, even though this uses two different algorithms, It's actually easier to solve than a 3x3 just because when you make this, you can't make 90-degree turns, so because you're making 180-degree turns, there's a sort of symmetry that happens with the puzzle. Here is the Meffert's Molecube. Even though it has this clicking mechanism, it's not that bothersome. It's actually quite satisfying. So how this puzzle works is it has 9 colors, and your goal is to get 9 different colors on each side. And actually all of the same colors will line up. So for instance, if we look at this orange one, we have the center, edge, and then corner. So they're all in a line. Next, here is the Z-branded super floppy cube. It has these stickers on the inside, and you would think that they would get ripped up quite easily because the puzzle is always moving over them, but they don't. They're pretty good quality. And because this is a super floppy cube, you can do moves like this. And then the solving is pretty simple. You just make a group of 3 like this, move it out of the way, just like that, and then you want to line up these outside colors. And then to move these, because they have stickers on the inside, you just move this section out of the way and rotate these tops. And last we have a picture cube. These are images from the video game Mirror's Edge, and these are chrome stickers from Speed Cube Shop. I actually just made a video on the process of printing out your own stickers on photo paper and gluing them onto a cube. And picture cubes are really interesting because you have to worry about center orientation. So for instance, if I just change up this, even though the cube is technically solved, it doesn't quite look right. And this picture cube was made from a 60mm chi sail. Alright, so that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions on these puzzles, feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Subscribe if you would like to see more content like this, and I'll see you next time.